Hello and good evening. Welcome to our last bulletin for the day as well as the month of June 2018. This is News at 10. You can also hear us live on your radio at 3FM 92.7. You can also follow our live stream on Facebook and on 3news.com. My name is Solis Rose-Quarty. Now for the summary of stories that highlighted today. Some experts in cocoa production want government to invest more in providing hybrid cocoa seeds for farmers. This, together with quality training of farmers on best agronomic practices, would boost cocoa production in Ghana. The country lead for Mondele International, Ya Pepra Amekuji, said these in an interview with TV3. The death toll from Thursday night's destructive flooding in Kumasi has risen to 10. The National Disaster Management Organization has described the loss of lives as almost unprecedented in the city. The crisis in the fisheries sector is not getting any better. Now, prices of fish at the Jamestown Fish Market in Accra have tripled due to low cash. A bucket of fish has increased from 30 to 150 cedis. Processors are unable to buy the small quantity of landed fish due to price hikes. Now, the Greater Accra National Association of Teachers says it is no longer interested in Ghana Education Services life insurance policy package imposed on teachers in the region. Speaking at the press conference in Accra, the chairman of the association, Ransford Esia Loli, said implementing the life insurance policy without their consent was wrong. It's now time for the big one. Now, in the Ashanti region, the death toll from Thursday night's destructive flooding in Kumasi has risen to 10. The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, has described the loss of lives as almost unprecedented in the city.
A downpour in Kumasi last Thursday night wreaked havoc in several communities. A number of houses were submerged and residents displaced. Vehicles and property were swept into the Abuabo and Susan drains. 10 people have so far been found dead at Kasi, Kwadaso, Asabi and other areas. Some families are still reporting of missing relatives. A rescue team from NADMO and other security agencies are in search of missing persons. Speaking to TV3, the regional NADMO director, Kwabena Sinturi, said countless number of residents have been displaced. Kwabena Sinturi cautioned residents against building on waterways.
My fellow assembly members and the various district, municipal and metropolitan, that they should get their engineers on board to educate the people. And we have started the demolition just along the Pelele and the other places. So we are going to continue.
Now, earlier on News 360, the communications director of the National Disaster and Management Organization, NADMO, George A.C., said the government is putting in efforts to address the perennial flooding in the country.
NADMO is collaborating with the Assembly to do what they are doing, clearing illegal structures of the waterways. That we've always trumpeted about that. And then, breaking those ones and trying to get the people off those places. We've seen the devastation caused by the flood. We've always said that it's been our own activities that have brought about this. So NADMO is partnering the Assembly. As of now, it is the Assembly that has that authority to do what they are doing, pulling down those structures. But NADMO is working in tandem with them to get those people off so that they can all have some respite and get over these unfortunate circumstances.
Right, George, but flooding is seasonal and it is yearly. May, June, July, every year it rains and we get flooding in this country. People die, properties are destroyed. This is not new. So What has NADMO been doing over the years?
Yeah, we keep carrying out education. For the structures on waterways, NADMO, as of now, does not have the authority to pull down those structures. NADMO. So we carry out education and then want people who are living in flood-prone zones to relocate or evacuate to higher grounds when it is raining. That has been the caution we've given them all the time. Our district officers and our disaster volunteers go around and then educate the communities along such flood-prone zones to, beware of these ones. Fortunately for us, Meteo also gives us the caution. Anytime there's going to be intense rains and meteorological services will relay the information to NADMO. And so we relay to our officers at the district and community levels to carry out these educations, especially in those areas, so that the people, sometimes we seem to be a bit intransigent. I'm talking the people living along these flood-prone zones. And so that is how come sometimes when you caution them to evacuate, there's not going to be anything. And then they get overwhelmed when it rains.
Well, let's further interrogate this issue, and joining us via Skype now is the Executive Secretary of the Bureau of Public Safety, Nana Yao Akwada. Good evening, sir. Many thanks for joining us on News at 10.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Right. Now, what would you say is exactly what we're doing wrong regarding the fact that our authorities are unable to consistently deal with this issue of flooding? And in this case, we've lost 10 lives in Kumasi.
Well, I was telling your producer before we came on air that constantly as a country, we have always approached such disasters by knee-jerk reactions. We have approached most serious disasters, even the most predictable disasters, with a firefighting approach. And to that extent, it doesn't demonstrate that we as a nation are serious about lives, and in fact, human security and public safety. If you check on the National Disaster Management organogram, you will find out that they have, aside the national coordinator, they have about 6 or 7 deputy, coordinators. Among these, we have finance, we have logistics, we have so many. There is not a coordinator designated for disaster prevention. Right there, that's where our problem is. We, at the structure itself, positions the organization as a firefighting organization. So they sit and wait for the disaster. And because they do not have a certain focus on disaster prevention, you'll be getting excuses such as we do not have the authority to demolish buildings, we do not have the authority to move structures out of waterways, and so on and so forth. The city authorities over time, who has that authority to move and demolish structures, also have failed in their quest to do that. If we as a people want to get some sanity with these perennial, natural occurrences, like now we are in the rainy season, NADMO, together with the city authorities, should have been able to identify areas that are prone to floods and taking the necessary measures. Other than wait till 10 lives are lost, then you come to the public and tell our stories. What we have said time and again is that citizens are not angry enough, probably because citizens themselves are part of the problem. But when we are angry enough and we demonstrate that to the authorities in no uncertain terms, we shall have them treat us with some decorum and some seriousness while occupying public office.
Now, you're talking about the citizens not being angry enough, and that the fact that they do play a part in the problem. Do you think that we have the political will to be able to enforce a lot of the issues that you've raised in your submission right now? Is it possible that we get to that place?
Well, let me say that it's very possible. good leadership is managing to take people to a place where they will not go. Let them get there and they would applaud you for getting there. For instance, if you look at Ghana since I think 1999 or so, or 96, that we set up the NADMO and passed the law to support the activities. How come we don't have a national disaster prevention program? How come we don't have a national emergency preparedness plan? And there are stakeholders in this country. There are a lot of organizations and institutions that apply themselves in public safety, human security, and so on and so forth. And in fact, I tell you, since the Bureau of Public Safety started, announcing its presence in the media landscape, you'll be amazed the number of applications for jobs that we have received. And sometimes it baffles me that we have all these quality of people in this country, some who have worked with the Federal Emergency Management Agency in US, some from Australia, some from UK, all of them in this country. We cannot give any excuse for not having a national disaster prevention program. We can't give an excuse for not having a national emergency response plan that is known by all stakeholders, NGOs, including NGOs alike.
Now, so basically what you're saying is that if we want to prevent this from happening again next year during the rainy season, we need to implement some of these measures that you've just spoken of?
Absolutely. The NADMO has over 200 or 300 offices littered across the country. There's no reason why we should still be getting flooding in places that we know are flood-prone areas. There's no reason why we should still be getting casualties from those areas, because we know the places that get flooded. We know development in every area, and these guys are people who are supposed to be knowledgeable in their field of work. If you check the Ghana disaster profile, the first thing that you see there is hydrometeorological disasters. We are talking flood, windstorm, rainstorm, drought, and tidal waves. So how come that we still sit here and there are floods come in and kill our people? When, as a matter of fact, in Ghana's disaster profile, this is number one. It should not happen. Okay. By now, we should go all those places and clear people and move them to safety.
Okay. Right. Now, finally, before you go, are you in agreement with the Metropolitan Assembly's clearing the squatters from there? Would it, to some extent, help, manage the situation? Well, absolutely. As far as the meteorological services announcements are concerned, they tell us that we should expect more rain. So, though the action of the city authority is late, and we would have expected some penal actions taken against people in authority, if those ones are not done, it's absolutely perfect for them to move those people there out of harm's way. All right. Thank you very much, Nana Yaw Kwada. He is the Executive Secretary of the Bureau of Public Safety. You're still watching News at 10 here on TV3, also live on 3FM 92.7. We'll be back shortly with more. Do stay. Welcome back to News at 10. Let's head over to the fishing sector, where fishermen at Jamestown in Accra are unhappy about government's intended closed season to fishing in August. August, they say, is a very wrong time for the exercise since it is their season for bumper harvest. They are therefore unwilling to comply with the directive and are vowing to resist any attempt to enforce the ban. Catherine Frimpoma has more.
The usual lively fish port of Jamestown in Accra is a pale shadow of itself today. The expectant fish processors who have congregated here from all over the region wait anxiously. Some could not help it after hours of waiting. Interacting with them, they seem to be singing the same chorus. No fish has become a common slogan for both fishermen and buyers, but this is not new, and the fisherfolk are aware of the situation. They also know why fish stocks have dwindled.
When
I was growing up, there was so much fish than we could consume. But due to light fishing, everything has gone bad.
Ghana's fishing industry is in crisis. Last year, fish landings reached the lowest records ever. Close season is one of the most effective ways of replenishing depleted fish stock, and August, according to experts, is the best time to enforce this.
You note that August, when they have the bumper catch, most of the fishes they catch are either babies, small-sized fish, or are pregnant fishes. And imagine, pregnant fishes are vulnerable and they will be caught. It's these same pregnant fishes that will give birth for the next generation. So the idea of the August is to protect the breeding period of the fish.
But fishermen would not hear of this.
This is not a time to stop us from fishing. They should rather stop the light fishing. August is the bumper season for us. We make so much money. It will be difficult for us to comply.
Some of the women knew about it and have planned to rely on frozen fish during the period. The Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, together with the Fisheries Commission, in accordance with Sections 763 and 84 of the Fisheries Act 2002, Act 625, started the implementation of the closed season for the industrial sector in 2016. It has, however, become imperative to close the season to all forms of fishing for maximum impact. The closed season, in combination with other management practices, will result in increased landing by 90,000 metric tons by 2030.
Everything about fishing is tough and difficult, and so is the intended close season in August going to be. Obviously, it will take very pragmatic efforts to make it happen. Catherine from Pama TV3 News, Jamestown, Accra.
And from the studios here at Adesanwe in Accra, my name is Solace Rose Court. Many thanks for joining us this evening on News at 10. We've been live on 3FM 92.7 as well as streaming live on 3news.com and our Facebook page. Up next is Russia Daily with Yao Ofosulabi. Don't go anywhere.